Hey everyone, today I just wanted to share a little something from someone who you may or may not know, from Tim Baiko, sorry for butchering your name, but anyway, he's one of the core devs on Ethereum, and he recently shared a bit of information from one of the most recent Ethereum dev meetings, and in that meeting they covered a few things, primarily the EIP-3559, so the burning of Ether in the next upgrade, as well as a new EIP, EIP-3675, which I thought I'd take a look at today. So just before I jump into it, I just want to point out Mikhail and Danny Ryan are actually quite important on the Ethereum development, and these two devs actually put together the EIP-3675. So, heading over to the GitHub page where all the EIPs are held, we can see it's titled Upgrade Consensus to Proof of Stake. So this is basically one of the EIPs, or Ethereum Improvement Protocols, which will help in upgrading Ethereum from the current state, which is Proof of Work, to the new Proof of Stake chain. So heading down, we can see the author Mikhail, Danny Ryan, and Vitalik Buterin. And down here, we can see the important parts. At line 108 and 109, we can see one of the lines say remove the existing proof of work heaviest chain rule and adhere to the new proof of stake LMD ghost rule. So this is basically introducing a new rule on how to upgrade to the proof of stake chain. So heading down on here, we can see the rationale, so why they wrote this EIP in the first place. So first of all, we can see the changes specified in this EIP target a minimal requisite set of consensus and client software modifications to safely replace the existing proof of work consensus algorithm, aka what you're using now with Ethereum, with the new proof of stake consensus represented by the already in production beacon chain. So basically what they're trying to do is help the end user upgrade to the proof of stake chain. And what they want to help you do is basically do what's in this picture here. And in case you don't quite get the pun, it's basically they want to help you do nothing. So upgrading to the proof of stake chain is as easy as possible. And going on, we can see they wrote that hot swapping the live consensus of the Ethereum network in order to both increase the safety of the operation and reduce the time to production will mean that most smart contracts will be able to easily upgrade from proof of work to the proof of stake chain, and they should continue to function with minor to no changes. So heading on down to line 147, we can see they want to replace the difficulty variable in the proof of work chain with 0, and we can see just under here they write, after depreciating the proof of work, the notion of difficulty no longer exists, and replacing the block header difficulty with a field of 0 constant is semantically sound. Basically saying setting the proof of work difficulty to 0 should be fine. And just below we can see they write the rule set enforcing the proof of work seal validity is replaced with the corresponding proof of stake rules along with the consensus upgrade as the rationale behind this change. And of course, they want to remove the block rewards. This is just for the proof of work chain. So existing rewards for producing and sealing blocks are deprecated, along with the proof of work mechanics, and the new proof of stake consensus becomes both responsible for sealing blocks and issuing block rewards once the specification enters into effect. So basically winding down the proof of work chain. Next down here, there's a comment for backwards compatibility. So they write, this EIP introduces backwards incompatibilities in block validity, which relates to block rewards and block choice rule. So when they say incompatibilities, they're not trying to break the proof of work chain, so they're just removing the rewards from the mining process of the proof of work chain. And heading on down below, we get to the good stuff. So for the transition process, they write, the transition process used to take this spec into effect is a more sophisticated version of a hard fork. So yes, this is still technically a hard fork, but obviously much more complex, and the regular procedure for applying backwards incompatible changes in the Ethereum network. This process has multiple successive steps instead of the normal block height condition of simpler hard forks. And in a lot of hard forks, the block height variable is usually used, but in this case, they'll explain why that probably isn't a good idea. So, of course, they do write, although the design seeks simplicity where possible, safety and liveliness considerations during this transition have been prioritized, because obviously you don't want anything breaking between a major upgrade. So you're probably asking, well, why not just use a block height number? Well, they write, using a predefined block number for the hard fork is unsafe in this context due to the proof of stake fork choice taking priority in the transition. So let's say there's an attacker and they want to use a minority of the hash power to build a malicious chain fork that would satisfy the block height requirements. So that would mean the proof of stake block could actually get added on top of the malicious proof of work block, which would of course subvert the security of the transition and could destroy the ETH chain and the trust within it. So they write, to protect the network from this attack scenario, difficulty accumulated by the chain, aka the total difficulty, is used to trigger the upgrade. Makes sense so far? Now heading down again, they write there could be a case where a terminal proof of work block is not observed by the majority of the network participants due to the temporal network transitioning, and in such a case, this minority would switch their fork choice to the new rules provided by the proof of stake rooted in the minority terminal proof of work block that they observed. So the transition process allows the network to reorg between forks with a different terminal proof of work block, as long as they satisfy the proof of work conditions and a proof of stake block has not been finalized, and the POS block finalized variable has not been reached. So basically, yes, technically there would be the ability to reorg between different forks, only up until this variable has been reached. So this first part right here is basically saying as long as the proof of work block conditions are all correct and a proof of stake block has been finalized, then that chain will be used. And down below they bring up an interesting idea of halting the importing of new proof of work blocks. So let's say part of the client software, aka you or MetaMask, is connected to the beacon chain, so the proof of stake chain, and that goes offline before the Ethereum network reaches the terminal total difficulty, aka the point at which the change from proof of work to proof of stake happens, and the client stays offline while the network meets this threshold. Such an event makes the client software unable to switch to proof of stake, which is obviously quite bad. And it would allow the client to keep following the proof of work chain if this chain is built beyond the terminal block. And depending on how long the beacon chain was offline, it could result in different adverse effects, such as the client has no post state for the terminal block, which prevents it doing the reorg to the proof of stake chain, so moving from proof of work to proof of stake. And in this case, the worst case scenario they see is just having to sync the whole chain again, which obviously isn't the end of the world. And finally they write, not importing proof of work blocks that are beyond the terminal proof of work block prevents these adverse effects on safety and reorgs in the event of software or configuration failures in favor of a liveliness failure. And if you want to keep up with any developments on Ethereum, the EIP section of the Ethereum GitHub page is a great place to start. If you like that video, consider leaving a like. If you want to have a chat, why not join my Discord server below. Okay, thanks, bye.